Welcome back, YouTube, to episode number 6 of Kyler Speaks. And today I have quite a few things to discuss with you guys. You know, our society has had tremendous trials and tribulations as of recent. Trust me, you see it all over the news, you see it everywhere. People are pitted up against one another in a way that is almost irreconcilable. It's just not something that could ever be repaired. And I thought to myself, why? Why are people being pitted against one another within our society? Is it some strategic plan from people in power? Is it social media? What is this? Why do so many people feel lost? Why do so many people feel lost? That is something that I've thought about now for a really, really long time. It seems like in our culture, and it comes down to 2 or 3 different aspects. A, we don't have religion anymore. We simply don't. I can almost remember a time when everyone went to church every single Sunday. We had Christian values in the United States. And yeah, you could say to yourself, well, we're not a very religious nation. We don't practice that anymore. We have freedom of religion or the absence thereof. In fact, our founding fathers, the majority of them were not religious. I believe that Thomas Jefferson ripped out every page of the Bible that claimed divinity. He ripped out every single page. And so a lot of our founding fathers were deists in a way that can best be described as not believing in a man in the sky necessarily, but more so just a grand watchmaker that somehow created the way the heavens go, but has no modern intervention on our everyday lives. And that's great. However, when we threw away religion, we practically threw away the baby with the bathwater. And you can obviously tell. Church was more than just learning about the Bible. It was a way for us to come together as a community. It was a way for us to get to know people within our community and trust one another and break bread with one another and get to know people. Maybe get to know your future wife. Maybe get to know your neighbor. It was a way for us to connect as a community, and we no longer have that. And we've been trying to piece something together that is a mere resemblance of what once was, being social media. Social media is nothing compared to having a true community. And the beautiful thing about church is that you were almost forced to go. It was socially unacceptable not to attend. You had to go. Unless you were on your deathbed, you had to go. And so no matter if you had a shit week, no matter if terrible, terrible things happened to you within the previous days leading up to church, you were almost forced, obliged to attend. And it was a way for us to sit back and truly think about the bigger things that truly matter in life. It was a peaceful time for a lot of people, and that's gone. Social media doesn't offer anything like that. In fact, it exploits our weaknesses. It knows that if there's a car crash, people will stop, turn, and look. And so it gives us nothing but continuous car crashes over and over and over. And it's really exploiting our human fallacies, our mental human fallacies. That's all it does. It doesn't show you good things because people don't like good things. They want to know what potential chaos exists throughout the world. And it's always been that way. Look at normal everyday news that was on Channel 5 or whatever it may be, Channel 12, local news. I think that anything past the 1980s was nothing but chaos and treachery. People dying, car crashes, fires, storms, kidnappings. That's all we had. And social media just took that and ran with it. It's exacerbated to a level that is almost indistinguishable from pure panic and fear. That's all we get. I think that is one of the major key factors to why our society feels as if it's not working correctly. We're missing something. We have everything. It's like being absolutely stuffed to the gills with food, but getting no nourishment. We have no nourishment, nothing that is actually sustainable. That is a massive, massive problem. I think that, coupled with the fact that when we threw away religion, we attempted, or rather attempting to replace it with things that just aren't quite as good. I believe that maybe all of these recent riots, and I mean, we could go back to Black Lives Matter, we can go back to the social justice movement, transgender movement. All of these movements are attempting to do what religion had done for us for thousands of years. And it's just the hierarchy of these movements don't make sense, and it just doesn't work. And I'm not here saying that I have a better solution. All I'm saying is that that is what happens when you throw away something that, yeah, it has, it definitely had its negative sides. It wasn't perfect, but almost like our doctrine that holds together, our doctrine that is the glue to the United States itself. It is amendable. And although religion wasn't entirely amendable, you could pick and choose. And people have picked and choosed between the texts for a very long time. A very long time. You may say that a book is infallible, but look at what people would speak about when they speak about religion. It is doctored. People did pick and choose. And I think that's the beautiful thing is there's a text there and you can take what makes sense to you and it could empower you. Furthermore, I think that one of the massive things that has really put a stint within our society's prosperity, to be quite frank, is the devaluation of white males or of men. Men do things in silence for everyone else around them. They don't get thanks, they don't get high praise, they don't get a pat on the back. They do it because they have to do it. And to be honest with you, for a long time, that was totally fine. But we don't want to be degraded for living a life that we've always lived, doing all the hard work. Take all of the men out of society. Who's going to do the plumbing? Who's going to build the buildings, the construction, the electrical work? Who's going to fight? Who's going to fight? Who's going to stand up? All of these jobs that white men have done forever, and I'm not saying that white men are better than anyone else, but it seems like the feelings and cares of white men in particular have been thrown to the wayside. And it makes white men feel as if they're not wanted at all. And that's not a good thing. Yeah, other people within our society also deserve praise, but we've taken that and we've 180'd it. I don't think that anyone should feel like they aren't a part of the American fabric. Our fabric that makes us American. There's different patches within that fabric, and white men, just like any other race or gender, deserve to be there. And it seems as if society has totally neglected them entirely. And people are fed up with it. People are totally fed up with it. White men are some of the most undereducated people now. They're some of the hardest workers, and yet they get paid terrible, terrible wages on average. And so when you talk about systematic oppression, you're not talking about the farmer, that works every single day. He's out on the field, herding the cattle, doing agricultural work, working exceptionally hard, putting up fence posts. You're not talking about him. You're not talking about systematic oppression for someone that is a day laborer, or someone that is a general contractor, or someone that's a chef for a local high school. These are all important factors. You're not talking about the plumber. You're not talking about the person that builds skyscrapers. These people are just as important as everyone else. And when they feel like they have a negative blanket over who they are as a person, and furthermore, for something that they cannot change, they were born this way. When you talk about systematic oppression and how those people are privileged, they automatically get defensive. And they get defensive because they work just as hard as anyone else, and they're not appreciated. Not at all. Everyone claps and cheers when someone of a minority does something. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But I think that we should clap and cheer no matter what. Race, creed, color, doesn't matter. Gender, it really doesn't matter. And I think that the majority of white men have just said, I'm done. Take me out. I don't want to participate in this game anymore. The game is rigged against me and it's not fair. And I could see where they're coming from. Being one myself, I could see where they're coming from. There is no praise given to someone with privilege. And the fact of the matter is that, yeah, the majority of the country, at least for now, is white. They're white people, males, females. Doesn't mean that you should shit on their heritage. I don't go to Mexico and shit on Mexican culture. I just don't. I don't go to Africa and shit on African heritage. I don't. I'm a guest. And the beautiful thing about America is we can all feel like this is our home. It isn't just one race. It isn't just one culture. That's a lot of what I've seen in the news as of recent. I mean, go back to what happened recently with Nick Shirley and his exposure of the fraud and corruption that's going on in Minnesota, near Minneapolis, with the Somalian daycare centers. Yeah, are the majority of them probably Somalian? Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you can toss away the entirety of Somalian people that live and work every day within the United States. The majority of them are probably very hardworking people. You've caught a couple bad people doing some very negative things. That doesn't mean that you can go up to every single Somalian person in the street and expect that they have committed fraud in some way. It just doesn't work that way. But humans don't like to think like that. We like to put people in boxes. What's happened recently with Jewish people? Now, there's a massive difference between Jewish people and people that belong to the nation of Israel. It's totally different. The majority of Jewish people in the United States just want to work hard. Yeah, are their traditions different? Sure, but that's what makes them American. That's what makes them American. Now, Netanyahu, on the other hand, I have a massive problem. Israel, I have a massive problem with that. I don't know what they have done to our country, whether they've blackmailed people, threatened people, or simply just spent a large majority of the money that we give them for no reason back. They've taken that money and put it back to pay our politicians off. They put it back into our system to further their self-interest. I have no idea. You look at the past wars we've been involved in the last 20 years, and they're people that have no threat to us. They're all people that potentially threaten Israel in the Middle East. Look at all that. I have no idea. Nonetheless, we can distinguish between those two groups of people. I think that as rational, thinking human beings that are intelligent, if we think intelligently, we can be able to differentiate between Israel as a nation and Jews. The majority of the Jews you see every day are very nice people. They're doctors, lawyers, dentists. They're products of society that should be cherished. And I'm sure that the majority of them, that's the thing with religion is, guys, Judaism is the only religion that is also a race. You could be an atheist Jew, you could be a non-religious Jew, you could be anything under the sun. Judaism strictly comes from whether or not you're born into it. And so the majority of them, yeah. Do they put Israel first? Probably. People like Ben Shapiro, those people need to be casted out. We don't want those people. We want you, if you're in America, living off the people of America and making your money in America, we want you to have America first. I totally agree with that. But you can't look at every single Jewish person you see on the street and automatically think that they don't align with you, because it's not true. It's easy for us to do as humans. We like to categorize people. We like to put people in boxes. And that is just such a shit way of thinking. It's a very, very poor mentality. There's tons of things that are wrong with us. I think that social media has made us so divisive. It's made us hate our neighbors. It's made us not trust each other. It's made us think that we are more different than we are similar. And that's not the case. I can get along with almost anyone, and I can have commonalities with almost anyone. The majority of people are just trying to live a prosperous life. We're trying to put food on the table. We're trying to empower ourselves. We're trying to take care of our families. We're trying to find love and find a decent job that pays a decent wage, that doesn't completely suck ass, that we semi-enjoy doing. We're trying to look for improvements within our lives. And I guarantee you that almost everyone, no matter where you come from or what you stand for, agrees with that. That right there within itself means that we have a lot more in common than we differ. We do. We really do. But social media loves to pit us against one another. And it's sad. It's sad. I don't know why that is. I think that the 90s were almost a better time to live in America than now. And people blame it on Donald Trump. People blame it on all these politicians. Look, here's what a politician does. And I've been very close to many politicians that, not quite on the Trump level, but right below. People that know him, people that work with him on a day-to-day basis. And here's what all of those guys do. They may be well-intentioned, don't get me wrong. But A, if you think that you can be the president of the United States, if you have that amount of audacity, then you're probably a bit delusional. And you might be right. You know, you might end up becoming the president. But anyone that thinks that they can rule over 350 plus million people and do an exceptional job or even an adequate job has to be a little bit off the rocker. And so here's what politicians do. They go, which way is the wind blowing? Okay, that's the way I'm going to go. That's why there hasn't been absolutely any president ever since the founding fathers that were any religion differing from Christianity. In fact, JFK almost didn't get elected because he was Catholic. And unfortunately, the media and just Americans in general were so naive that they thought that his allegiance might be to the Pope before it was to be given to the American people. And obviously his allegiance was to America and the American people and not the Pope, but at the time that was a very sticky situation. And it's because people fear what they don't understand. People fear people that are different from themselves. And I don't know how to fix that, but all I can say is get out and get to know people. I'm not saying that you should walk the streets of the south side of Chicago at midnight. It's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that you should get to understand people first and then criticize them. And we do this all the time, and I'm guilty of it myself. We think that we know more than we know. and we make assumptions. And a lot of times, assumptions are wrong. I see people around my job. I work in a very big, there's a lot of people where I work. And I look at some people initially, I used to, and I'm guilty of it now. And I look at the way they're dressed and the facial hair they have and that look in their eye, and I think they're absolute fucking morons. And then I talk to them. Are they Albert Einstein? Probably not. In fact, no. But you know what they are? They are very good people just trying to put food on the table for their family, and they're very similar to myself. They may think different things, but that's just the way they grew up. And who's to say that what they feel or deem as important is less important than what I may deem as valuable or important? We're just monkeys on a rock, flying actually through an infinite universe, trying to figure things out. We're only here for a blimp, and then we're gone. And so while we're here, let's be good stewardesses of Earth, right? Now, I'm not talking about global warming. I'm talking about if we're here, let's just try to take care of it. Let's try to take care of everything around us. Let's be good hosts. This is not our planet. We are temporary guests on here. I mean, people of different species have ruled over this long before us, and once we're gone, there will still be things here that will call this place home because they have no choice for now. So take care of it and treat it like you're a guest. That's all I'm saying. When it comes to people, just try to be nice. Try to be nice to people. I think that's how we're going to fix this problem. And we all sense that there is something here that feels just a little bit off. We can all kind of almost sense it in a weird way. It's like something isn't quite right. We're doing everything we're supposed to be doing, but we're not feeling any feelings of accomplishment, achievement. We're not feeling connected anymore. It's like we're completely disconnected to that thing that used to make America the greatest country in the world. And we just have a hollow shell of whatever that thing used to be. I know that's the way I feel, and I think that that's the way everyone feels. Maybe you feel the same way. But only we can change that. We all look towards leaders. We all look towards people to become heroes. Here's the thing. Real heroes exist every single day, and real heroes are people just like me and you. I'm having this conversation. I don't have all the answers. I don't have a giant S on my chest, but it takes a very average person to do something extraordinary to be called heroic. We're looking for other people to come down and save us and to pick us up from the position that we're currently in. And unfortunately, that's not the way it works. And funny enough, you wouldn't want that even if it were, because you have to earn it. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And that sounds corny as fuck. I get it. But it's really not, because you learn lessons along the way that are invaluable, that mean more than even when you get to where you're going, right? Look at rich people. All they do is talk about back when they were poor. I remember when I was growing up, I had I think it was a 1992 Isuzu pickup truck. It just had a make, not even a model. It was an Isuzu pickup truck, and that was a piece of shit. Piece of shit. It would break down almost every day. So much so that I just had a tent and blankets in the back because I'm like, well, I'm stuck here now. I remember one time we were in Andover, and man, there was this kid we were hanging out with. We all would hang out together on the weekends. Although I didn't grow up there, my cousin did. And he introduced me to this friend group, and they're super cool. There's this guy named Bryant. He passed away actually in a motorcycle accident a few years back, unfortunately, in Florida. He was down there, he was in the military. But we had all been drinking. He took my keys, and he was like, and we were all drinking. He took my keys and he drove my car, and I was like, can you drive? He was like, yeah, I can drive. And I was like, all right, man, drunk. He took my car, my Isuzu pickup truck, and he tried going down the street, and he made it about 300 feet, and the car did like 3 spins and then went, stopped. And I shit you not, all 4 tires fell off of my car. All 4 tires. I just left it. I just had to leave it. What am I going to do? All 4 tires. They didn't pop, they fell off the rim. One was literally coming down the street. It was rolling down the street. That's the shit we talk about when we have nothing. We don't talk about what it feels like to wear Louis Vuitton and be in a nice apartment in a nice podcast studio. We talk about the journey. And so remember that, and thank you guys very much. I'm really trying to just speak about things that are meaningful to me on here. Like I said, I don't care whether or not I have a giant audience or not. I just want to connect and make a real impact and talk about real problems. You know, I feel like all these YouTube people are absolutely cucked. They can't talk about anything because they don't want to lose sponsorships. They don't want to lose brand deals. They have an image. They make money off of this. I don't care. I'm not saying things outlandish just to do it. I'm not a prankster. I'm just a human being, just like you, trying to make sense of this weird predicament that we're in called life. And so this is the type of content I want to make, where I just talk. I just talk about everyday problems, and we'll figure it out together. In the future, once I get a larger audience, I really would like to create a phone line where I can speak to you guys as I'm recording. I think that would be an amazing thing. But thank you so much, guys, for all the love and support. And this channel is growing, and I'm so grateful and so appreciative. I don't even know what to say. Thank you guys so much. So stay tuned. Make sure that you subscribe and share this, and drop a like. It means a lot to me, and it will hopefully grow this channel to where more people can get involved and we can create a real movement. This could be a real community. So thanks once again, and I'll see you guys next week. Until then, take care.